All right, welcome back to another episode of Time Out with Timothy. I hope you're liking what you're hearing so far. If you are, please give me a like, give me a subscribe, tell others about me, and let's help spread the word. All right, we'll get right into it today. We're going to talk about something that's pretty straightforward, but a little complex all at the same time, kind of the way we like to do it. So, talk about another cliche that you've heard. You've heard many times people say, I agree to disagree. Usually it comes after you've had a conversation with somebody, y'all have gone back and forth, each are presenting logic, common sense maybe, but you're looking at things from two different viewpoints and you're not being able to come up with a common consensus of what is right and what is wrong. And you'll end the conversation when you realize that neither is going to change their stance with, we'll just have to agree to disagree. And then often you'll move on from that and you would possibly even start up another conversation about a different topic. But that phrase, it's not only an easy way to end a conversation when agreement cannot be settled upon, it signifies a respect for each other's opinions. It shows that you understand that you don't have to have the final say. You don't have to convince somebody. You don't have to prove you're right and they're wrong. Maybe you're both right. Maybe you're both wrong. It's just a difference of opinion based on the facts and data that you have and the personal experiences that you have. So agree to disagree was exactly what it is. I understand you have the right to believe that way. I understand where you're coming from. I disagree. I believe this way. And you move on. We, again, as a society, have decided that that's not okay anymore. And the main reason is the same thing it's been in some of our other conversations, the politicization of everything. Everything is political now, and having that, what that does is that forces everybody onto one of two teams. If you're a Republican, if you've got that R behind your name, then you've got a certain set of viewpoints. If you're a Democrat, that D means you believe this way and you're going to stick to it. The Republicans, for now, they're at least allowing some dissension within the party. They're still allowing a little bit of free thought, or at least the facsimile of it. The Democrats, on the other hand, have gotten pretty hardcore. This is our stance. This is our party line. You're going to stand by it or you're going to get out. Republicans will be there before too much longer. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying one's better than the other from that standpoint. But that's just where we're at right now. And what that does is that forces everybody onto a team. Are you a Republican? Okay, well then you're this way. You're an old white man conservative. You're a Democrat? Well, you're a bleeding heart liberal who, thinks babies should be aborted all the way up until they're born, and the climate is the best thing in the world, and we need to do everything, sacrifice everything to save the climate. It's all extremes, and this is my team, my viewpoint. This is how I got to stand. This is how I got to be, no matter what. We were warned about this back in the day by a fairly big historical figure named George Washington. He told us that this is what a two-party system would do to us. It would divide us as a nation instead of uniting. We'd have been much better just to stay a nation of independence where everybody has their own train of thought, comes up with what's right, a common solution that works for everybody is figured out. Instead, we're fighting between the Republican message versus the Democratic message. Civil discourse has now been replaced by argument, because how are you going to have civil discourse if the decision's already made? There's nothing to talk about. Your ability to critically think for yourself has been stamped out. You have to follow the lead. You have to toe the line. And it's created an environment without debate. This dogged loyalty to the party line this dogged loyalty to whatever ideology that you adhere to does not allow for any debate. It does not allow you to sit down with someone and give them an honest ear to try to figure out where they're coming from, to say, hey, maybe this guy or this lady or this child has a viewpoint that will enlighten me in some way, that will give me another way to look at something. You know, maybe I can learn from them and can take what they say and apply it to myself, even if it doesn't really change my fundamentals, if it doesn't change my foundation, which it more often than not shouldn't. You should have a rock that you live your life on. But there's a lot of nuance in everything that can be swayed one way or the other, based on good, constructive debate. Nowadays, if you don't spout the right message, you know, there's only a few reasons why that could be. You know, there's not a chance that it's because you have different data, or you interpret the data a different way, or maybe your common sense points to you another direction to go with it. No, it's never any of that. It's either you're a racist, you have certain prejudice in your life, you're an uneducated person, you haven't been taught the right ways, you haven't learned the right things yet, and worse than any of them, maybe you're a Christian, or you know, a Christian nationalist, as they want to throw that term on the end of it now. You know, it's funny to me that the only religion that ever seems to be under attack is Christianity. The rest of them seem to be left alone, sometimes even protected. But Christianity seems to be targeted. But I digress. So now we can only agree if the other doesn't disagree. There is no in between. So how do we fix this? How do we get back to learning from each other, to having civil discourse, to doing the things that made us great as a nation? It starts, this isn't the end all, but this will get us a long way there. It starts with one word: listen. We just got to listen. It really is that simple. You know, a lot of other stuff will come up after the fact, and we'll have to work through it. But we have to start listening to each other, to understand each other, so that we can move forward, so that we can come back together and unify. That doesn't mean we're all going to believe the same stuff and we're all at the end of the day going to be one homogeneous goo of people that points everything the same way. We're still going to have so many different viewpoints. We're still going to fight over different ways to do things. What's right, what's wrong, what's best, what's worst. But we can have a common goal and then respect each other as people if we'll start listening. Now, listening doesn't mean just hearing what someone else is saying while you're trying to figure out what you're going to say back in response. That's hearing. That's not listening. Listening means you hear what someone is saying, you critically think about it while you're hearing it, you absorb it, and you think about what they're saying. You think about what it means. You listen to the data they have supporting it, the common sense that they have supporting it, the logic. And then you compare that to your knowledge. Compare that to the data that you have, the information that you have at your disposal, the life experiences you have that are important to this particular topic. And you put all that together, and then you formulate your response. And maybe that response still disagrees, and you have a counterpoint. Maybe that response is, okay, I see what you're saying there. I can accept that. That makes sense. Either way, you've thought about things. You've listened, and you've spit out an answer that's not just the talking point you're supposed to spit out. It's an honest answer. We can revert a lot of damage if we just start listening again. And that is really the theme of this, or the message of this particular time out with Timothy. Let's sit down, let's listen, let's appreciate and respect each other once again. if you've made it to the end, again, I'll ask if you do me a favor, hit that like button and that subscribe button. Maybe even turn on that notification so you can know when I post a new video. My goal is right now, as I'm starting this channel, to put one out a week and see where it goes from there. So God bless you. Have a good evening.